Hi and welcome back. So glad that you have returned because that says a lot about you and your willingness to embrace technology and use it in the ways that can help you reach your goals and reach your goals faster. You are worth this time and energy. Just yesterday evening, I was listening to one of my mentors, Brendan Bouchard, talk about the ways in which to reach toward your dreams and your goals, and that it always involves putting yourself in proximity to your fears. But he says that the reward is that when you spend time closer to your fears, the more time you spend there, the less afraid you are. The more you master those challenges and the faster you progress. So I'm so glad that you're here today and sharing this with me. Today, I want to give you 7 other features here in Microsoft Word that will come in handy at various stages of your writing and revision process. I'm just going to post a few quick tutorials here, and you can come back to them whenever you need. When I'm done, I'll post in the text box below the video, I'll post the timestamps for the different sections. So if you only want to listen to one out of the 7, there's going to be find and replace, cut, copy, paste, bullet points and lists, inserting images, word count and character count, spell check, and thesaurus. So you're welcome to check back to any one of these 7 pieces that's going to be here today. I want to start with find and replace. If you've been writing a book and you've got character names in there and all of a sudden you had a fight with your best friend and now you need to rename your sidekick in the book, this is easy using find and replace. So make sure that you're on the Home tab here in the top left corner, and you'll see find and replace both out here on the very far right-hand side. And I'm going to suggest that if you just want to find something in your document, you can use the find feature. Click right on the binoculars there. But if you think that there's something you want to find and replace it with, like a name, then we can use replace. For example, for me, I maybe decide that at some point I want to change my heroine's name spelling from Stephanie with an F. What if I would like to change it instead to Stephanie with a PH? In that top box, I'm going to type the original, how it would be found in my manuscript now, and then I'm going to type how I want to replace it. I could go through the fixes one at a time, and here's how we do that. I'll click Find Next, and notice how on my screen here behind the Find and Replace box, the first version of Stephanie with an F is lit up. I can choose to replace that one or to replace all the instances of Stephanie with an F in my whole document. If you're just interested in doing it one at a time and verifying that everything is just what you expect it to be, you'll click Replace. And as soon as you click Replace, it's going to go find the next time that that instance happens in your document, and you can replace again. Or you can click Replace All, and it will go through your entire document. And golly gee willikers, I named my character quite a bit. So there were 187 times in this short 24,000 word excerpt here when I named Stephanie, Stefanie. Now, a couple of words of warning. Microsoft Word is very literal. This feature itself is very literal. If you want to change a character named Sam to Brad, what I want to warn you is that you could wind up with a little craziness unless you go through it piecemeal one at a time, because in the case of where you use the word same or Samaritan, anything that begins with S-A-M, you want to be cautious with that. Same thing if you're just replacing short words. You may want to spend a little extra time and use that find and replace one piece at a time. There's also issues where if you're replacing names, where you might want to also check nicknames. Let's see if I ever abbreviate Stephanie. Oh, sure I do. I abbreviate it as Steph. Now, if you have a character, maybe I need to change those to S-T-E-P-H to stay consistent. And I could replace all. Wow, there was 34 times of that I didn't even know. And that's just from there. Nope, that's all the way back from the beginning. So you may have to think through a few steps and a few layers to best utilize this feature, but it's really nice. Another way that I like to use find and replace, let me pull that up again. Remember, we could do it just with find, and in that case, you'll see it open on the left-hand side in what's called the navigation bar. So I'm going to type in the box one of the words that I gave up for Lent. Those of you who know me know that that word is that. And wow, look, result number 10 of 287 times out of 24,000 words that I've used that. That's kind of a lot. So it is possible that in your document, you may have some superfluous words that can come out and immediately up the quality of your writing. Now I'm just going to zoom back to the very beginning of my document here and look for result number 1 of those 287, because I'm guessing there are some that we could replace or remove entirely, and it would read just as well. Let's check it out. Maestro Conti knew that he could make Stephanie lose control. Now we're going to run spell check later and take care of some other things too. But for now, we're going to focus on find and replace and how we could deal with the that crisis. Maestro, what would it read like if I just took that out? If I got rid of that? Maestro Conti knew he could make Stephanie lose control. Do you see how already that's improved the flow? It's quicker, it's easier to read. Let's find the next time I use that and see, does it stay or does it go? No reassuring smile. No tenuous movement that betrayed nerves. No reassuring smile. No tenuous movement that betrayed nerves. Not even a curt nod to appease him. What if I took that out? No tenuous movement betrayed nerves. Maybe. It's not one of those that I'm going to jump in and say, yes, this is definitely great. So let's go on to the next one, and we'll just ask ourselves that same question. He would push that high-strung 20-something to the height of musical abandon. He would push high-strung 20-something to the height of musical abandon. No. Why do we need the that in this case? Because the that is used for specificity. We're talking about a specific high-strung 20-something. How about down here? Nowhere less painful to learn that than in a third-tier orchestra. If we took this one out, it would read, nowhere less painful to learn than in a third-tier orchestra. I like that one better, so I'm going to take the that out of there and move forward. Ms. Petros will feel the difference that it brings to the soul of her music. How about we take it out? Ms. Petros will feel the difference it brings to the soul of her music. Dramatically improved. Now, I'm already down from 287 that to 284, and it only took a few seconds. And once you get the habit of killing the that in your writing, you're going to be amazed at how much quicker and how much stronger your sentences read with this one little feature. So I'm excited for you to utilize this one, and we'll have an upcoming module where we tackle lots of little throwaway words like this that are very common in our spoken language. But in writing, they tend to drag the story down in infinitesimally small ways, but you can punch up your writing just by removing small words. The second feature that I want to show you in this video is called cut, copy, and paste. Now, at some point in the writing or revision process, you're likely to change your mind about where you would like to have certain sentences appear in your document. The cut and paste feature is a perfect way to move things around. I'll just, let's see, say that paragraph 3 here, maybe I decide I would like to have this be fourth instead of the third paragraph. Now, that doesn't make any literal sense, but, it's just an example to show you how to use a tool for now, so bear with me. There are a couple of ways that you can highlight the text that you would like to move. And just quickly, so you have, you can use the one that you love the most, but you can click and drag to highlight the text that you want to move, or you can click and then hold down the shift key while you use the arrows on your keyboard, down and then to the right. to highlight certain text. If you have a friend or a family member, or you yourself have some issues with holding the mouse steady, this is a beautiful way to work because you can use the down arrow, and then the end key to take you all the way out to the end of the line. This is great for folks with Parkinson's or other muscular issues there. But my favorite way for highlighting a line or a paragraph, if you move your mouse to the left-hand margin, notice once I get past that margin there, the shape of my mouse changes from an I-beam to an arrow. When I single click in the margin, it highlights an entire line of text at one go. Or when I double click in that margin, it highlights an entire paragraph. This is a trick you can get a lot of mileage out of when you're editing. So in whatever way you're most comfortable with, I'm going to have you, I'm double clicking there, highlight that paragraph. And then there's again a few ways that you can cut it to your computer's clipboard. You can select the cut feature. It looks like a pair of scissors from the left end of the home ribbon toolbar. Or you could press the control key or the command key on your keyboard and type the letter X for cut. It looks like scissors. Or you could position your mouse anywhere inside that highlighted text and right-click and choose cut from the menu that pops up there. Make sense? So I'm going to click cut from here. All of those ways will work. And then you're going to place your cursor where you'd like the text to go. So I'm just going to move my cursor down one paragraph. This is where I'd like it to go. And now you can move that other text. It's gone. It disappeared from your document, but it's saved. Don't freak out. It's saved on an area called your clipboard, and it will stay there until you shut down the program for the day. So there are a couple of ways, just like there were a couple ways to cut, there are a few different ways to paste it back in. You can use the clipboard feature here on the left end. I'll just do it that way for once. Oh, there it is, there it works. And just to also show you the undo feature, this is my favorite friend when I've done something stupid, like accidentally highlight my entire document and then hit backspace. I can undo to bring it back, so I'm going to undo to take out that text just now and show you another way that you can paste. You can use Control V on your keyboard, and that popped it in. You didn't see me do anything, but on my keyboard I was pressing Control V, and then I can quickly undo to show you the third way that you can do this. With your mouse placed right in front of the paragraph where you want it to go, you can right-click. And this gives you that same pop-up menu that we saw just a moment ago. And from that menu, you'll see paste options. There are usually 2 or 3 or 4 different options for pasting your text back in. And if you're pasting things within your current document, probably all 3 are going to look the same. But I'll show you something in a moment where it really makes a difference. I'm going to choose Keep Text Only. And it brought in my place, but you'll notice it did not add a paragraph return at the end. So I'm just going to press the Enter key quickly to put in that extra paragraph there. Now, that was moving, cutting, and pasting text within your own document. But I know that many of you, especially those writing nonfiction books, may have some information that's internet-based that you would like to copy and paste into your document as well. Now, hopefully you're copying your own material. This is nothing you're plagiarizing. But I know also some fiction authors who have blogs. And you can go out to the internet. I'll show you how right now. Let's pop out here to the internet, and I'll take you to my blog site, yearofthebook.wordpress.com. Oh, there's a picture of little Demi at Christmas time. She just got Raggedy Ann and Andy from her grandparents. And let's say perhaps that I would like to copy this short paragraph of text here and move that into my current document file. You'll notice I can't see a toolbar up here that resembles the one I had in Word that had the scissors or the copy or the paste features there. So what you're going to do is use click and drag to highlight text. I'm positioning my mouse at the beginning. You could also do this at the end of the selection that you want. You can start from beginning and then click and hold the clicker down while you drag your mouse down to highlight text. Now, because we don't see all those menus, they're buried. They're there, but they're buried. Probably your easiest way to copy text from the internet is to use that right-click feature. So position your mouse inside of that highlighted text and right-click, and copy will be one of your choices there. Then once you've copied that text, let's go back and find your book example here. Using the area at the bottom of your screen, you can see any documents that you have open in Microsoft Word. Just choose the one that you're working on if you have more than one open. Position your cursor where you'd like the new text to go. And you can also, again, right-click and paste. Now, here's where that seeing the right-click paste options might make a difference for you. Notice when I use that first paste option, I'm just hovering for now, I haven't chosen it. Keep source formatting. It allows me to bring all of the characteristics that were associated with that text from the place where I just copied it from. So the font size, the font style, the font color, and the alignment and everything that goes with it. I can keep that formatting if I use the clipboard that's the one that says keep source formatting. Or I can merge formatting from where I took it from with where I'm coming to, or I can just keep the text. For many of you who are working on book projects, I'm going to suggest that text only is probably your best bet, because when we copy things from the internet, sometimes it brings a bunch of HTML gobbledygook, the web coding language, with it. And keeping that text only is probably one of your smarter choices at this point in your document. However, if you ever want to use copy and paste to grab recipes or things that you want to keep that way, sometimes keeping the text source formatting is helpful to you, and that way you still have the columns on your ingredients and so forth. Alrighty, but did you notice that when I highlighted my text over here on the internet and I right-clicked, did you notice that cut wasn't one of the choices? Right. Well, that's because people who post things on the internet don't want other random crazy people to cut it off of the internet. It's their site. It's not our site. Even though this site is mine, the features that are available right now on my right-click menu are only the ones that everybody else has as an option as well. So that's why you won't see cut on this menu. You'll have to look for copy at this point. Make sense? Awesome. Now, sometimes, I know some of you, what you really need to have in your book is something called a screenshot. I worked with a gentleman last summer who wanted to show people through his book what they could expect to find when they visited certain web resources. And so how do you take a screenshot and then copy that into your document? The primary way that you do that on a PC is through a key called print screen. I'm going to press that right now, and oh wow, magic really happened, didn't it? You didn't see a darn thing, did you? No, I didn't think so. The print screen button looks like PRTSC, okay? But when I go back to my Microsoft Word document, I put my cursor where I want that to go, and then I paste. Look what happens. I get that screenshot. So by me pressing the print screen key on the keyboard, it took a picture, like a camera. It took a picture of my screen at that very moment in time and stored it on the clipboard. And then when we come back to Word and we paste, it pastes in that image. We'll learn later on how you can use the crop feature, which is on the format tool. So first you have to select the item and then come and crop it. If there are certain elements of that screenshot that you don't want to share with the universe, like being logged in, or maybe you just want to have them focus on a certain area of the screen, you could drag that in, make it smaller. Maybe I just want to show off the header there and then press crop at the end. I'll show you this in a later part of the video, but there's a quick how-to. Make sense? All right. On a Mac, it's a little more complicated to do a screenshot. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to press the Command key and hold it down, plus the Shift key and hold it down, and type the number 4. Command Shift 4, and that's going to take a screenshot, what's on your computer screen at that moment. You're going to have to move. You're going to get a mouse that looks like crosshairs. You're going to have to click and drag to highlight what on your screen that you want, and it's going to drag like a box, like a square or a rectangle, depending how far you drag it. And wherever you release that mouse button, it's going to save a PNG image file to your desktop of your Mac computer. And then it's more convoluted, I know, but when you come to your document, you'll drop your cursor where you want to go. You'll go into your Word file, and from the Insert tab, you'll have to come to Pictures, and then on that desktop, locate the image that was your screenshot. And I just grabbed an image that I had out there for the moment. Make sense? All right. If you need a little deeper dive on this, feel free to shoot me an email or a question down in the comments section. Moving on, it's going to take that out so we have plenty of space here. All righty. Next topic on my list is showing you how to use bullet points and the list features. This is probably more valuable for nonfiction writers, and it's a wonderful time saver when you need to create bullet-pointed lists and numbered lists. And there are things I can teach you here that will make it even easier. I'm going to just press the Enter key a couple of times to take me down so I have fresh lines up here to start with. And let's see. On your toolbar, on your home ribbon toolbar, these are the two buttons we're going to work with right now. The leftmost one is the bullet list. Notice that it has an arrow to the right of it that gives you more options. If you click right on the bullet list, it will use its default little round black bullet dots. Or if you come to the list, you can define what those bullet dots look like. And then we also have one for numbered lists instead of bulleted lists. If you click right on the button, you get the 1, 2, 3 list. Or if you select the pull down arrow, then you can decide, does the number have a period after it? Or does the number have parentheses after it? Or is it a Roman numeral? Or is it a capital letter system or a lowercase letter system? Does it have periods? Does it have parentheses? You get to decide. Or if the one that you want is in there, you can define a new number format for yourself. Make sense? All right. For the first moment, let's say that we want to select a bullet here, and you can either use the default one, or you can choose one that they offer up, or you can define a new bullet. Let's say you would like it to be a symbol, maybe the degree sign, or maybe you like diamonds. I like diamonds. You'll see all the symbols that are available. You could have little hearts. I know an author who used this in her Law of Attraction, Spiritual Energy Healing book, and it was really lovely, actually. Surprised me a lot. But you can choose characters from any of the fonts that you have installed on your computer from the drop-down list there. Or you can even use a picture as your bullet point. And so you're just clicking that Use Picture and then selecting the image from a file that you'd like to use. Make sense? All right, I'm going to cancel out of that and just use the generic bullet point for a minute. I'm going to select super simple bullet point. You'll notice how it automatically indented from where I was before. This is a nice setting when you're making bullet lists. You can just stick with that for now. And if you need to change the indent of that, I'm going to suggest that you save that until you're ready to get things formatted up to submit. Don't waste a lot of time and energy on it now while you're in your first draft phase. Okay, so you click on that, and you're going to create a list item here. Now, starting your list is so simple. Let's say I'm just making a quick grocery list. I need bread, and that's the entirety of what I put in bullet 1 here. If you press the Enter key, notice how once the bullet pointed list is on, it automatically drops in that new bullet point for you. That is so simple. I also need some milk. I press Enter to go down to a new line, and I could use some eggs. Standard normal family here, right? Except that we're paleo and I haven't had bread in 5 weeks and I'm getting a little crotchety about it, but we're not digging into therapy again. I know this is your lesson time. Now, how do you get out of the list? Because by now you realize that as soon as you press Enter, it gives you another bullet point. But what if your list is done at 3 or whatever number you've reached? I can tell you that most of the folks that I've worked with in my teaching classes, they at this point want to hit the backspace key or the delete key. I'll tell you, This is a non-intuitive feature of Microsoft Word. The best thing you can do is just press enter again. Now you'd think that would add a lot of blank space in there, or leave the one bullet with blank space behind it and then move you down to a new line, but in reality it just turns the feature off. I'm going to run that by you one more time. I'm going to go back to where I was at the end of eggs. Notice how our bullet feature is lit up in blue right now. Here I'm using the bulleted feature. My cursor's right behind eggs. As soon as I press enter once, it takes me down to a new line, adds a new bullet, and that bulleted feature is still turned on. But when I press enter the second time, it turns off the bulleted feature and returns me to the beginning of my next paragraph. This is the easiest way to move yourself down to a new line and turn off the list tool all at once. All right, let me just repeat the same kind of example with numbered lists so you have an idea of how that works out. I'm going to click here just on the generic numbers for now, but remember you could choose the ones with parentheses or Roman numerals or whatever you need. Let's say I'm making the same list: bread, milk, eggs. Okay, now what if you want to add a bulleted list to your bulleted or numbered list already? Let's say I want to buy a couple different kinds of eggs. What I'm going to suggest is you simply go down, use enter to take you down to a new line, and then to indent your bulleted list, you're going to press the tab key, and it's going to shift automatically into a new level of bullets here. So if I want some brown eggs, and I press enter, and now I want some white eggs, I just am within that bulleted list. Now, to get out of this second layer of bullets, you're going to do the same process you did before. You're going to press enter once, you're going to press enter again. And now that we were already 2 layers deep, we're still back at the bullet points. You can press enter a third time, and it will take you back to the beginning of your next paragraph. Make sense? All right, so instead of trying to backspace or delete or go up and turn tools on or turn tools off and fight with that, just press enter a couple of times in a row, and that'll get you in and out of what you need. Okay, next section is inserting images into your document. For folks who are writing nonfiction, again, screenshots are a big thing that you might want to use, or pictures to illustrate a point. In the same way that Mac folks had to insert screenshots earlier, this is how all of us are going to use Microsoft Word to insert pictures in our Word document. The first step is always going to be to go to save some images on our computer. And in my case, I've saved an image on my desktop, but you may have images saved in your pictures folder. So the trick is knowing where you've put things that you're looking for. The second step is to come on the toolbar in Word, where you have your cursor placed at the spot in your document where you want the image to go. Then we're going to go to that Insert ribbon toolbar and click on Pictures. Our object is to locate the image that we want wherever we stored it. Mine was on the desktop, so here's Stephanie there. Or you might have something saved in your Pictures folder and you can grab it from that spot. I'm going to grab my little sideways flute player here and insert Stephanie. What you'll notice when she appears is that there are handles around the outside edge of the picture, little square boxes, and at the top center there is the possibility of rotating your image. This may or may not be in your best interest because you'll eventually have to format your book to widths and heights that are not 8.5 by 11. So be cautious spending too much time formatting pictures right now at this stage of the game. My advice is get them where they need to go and keep them at a width and height that is the maximum you might ever need for it, because you want to keep that resolution nice and clear. You never want to have to use a very small image and then enlarge it later because it could get grainy. So for the moment, I'm going to advise don't do much more other than put your pictures in. But if they're making you crazy, a couple of things that you can do to make them smaller is position your mouse in a corner of that image, and when your mouse shape changes from that I-beam to a double-headed arrow, not the four-headed arrow, the double-headed arrow, then you can click and drag to make it smaller, or click and drag to make it larger. Make sense? But if you accidentally grab the side, watch what happens to poor Stephanie. It changes the width without changing the height. You also wouldn't want to click and drag like that from the top or from the bottom because it would change the height without changing the width. So remember that undo is your friend, and you can always put it back if you've grabbed that accidentally. But try and do your enlarging and shrinking from the corners of the image or from the Format tab. When you've clicked on an image, this Format tab just appears. It wasn't there a moment ago, but now when you click on that image, the Format tab appears. You can also change your image's height and width from this right-hand area of that Format tab. And if you want all your images to be exactly the same width throughout your document, this is a nice place to do it. But again, I'm going to suggest don't waste a lot of time on it now because there's so many more decisions that will influence the outcome of how large your pictures are later on, like your finished page count, for example. I'm going to suggest finish your first draft. That's so much more important. But if you're already farther along in your project and you need more specific help, again, toss me a comment in the area below this video and I will be happy to dive in and help you with that. Awesome. All right, I'm going to take Stephanie out by pressing the delete key while I've highlighted her so that there's more room on the screen to show you the next section, which is about word count and character count. This is an awesome way that you can keep track of progress for yourself, but it's also a handy tool when you're preparing a story to submit or an article for a contest or need to meet a precise word count goal. In the lower left-hand corner of your manuscript, you'll be able to see automatically all the time what page you're on of how many pages total and your current word count for the entire document. So if you need to write a 2-page synopsis, you can keep track of that here, or if you need to write something for a short story contest that's 1,500 words or less, you can see that right in the bottom. Let's say, though, what if you need to write an author bio for the back of your book, and it has to be less than 500 characters? The author bio that you need to submit to Amazon Author Central page. Maybe this has to be less than 500 characters total. What does characters mean? Does that include spaces? Does that not include spaces? Wow, does it include letters and numbers? Here's where you can find both. On your review tab in your document, there is a whole feature devoted to just the word count. So I click on word count. It will tell me not only what I saw in that lower left-hand corner, how many pages and how many words, but how many characters, not including spaces, there are in my entire document, or how many characters there are if you do include the spaces. It'll also list how many paragraphs you have or how many lines you have total. So if you're a poet and you're aiming for a certain line count, this is a nice feature to use as well. But what if you just want to count how many words are in a certain section of your document? You can use those features we talked about earlier, click and drag. Or if you just need a line, you can click in the left-hand margin. Or if you need a whole paragraph, you can double-click in that left-hand margin. And then click your word count tool. And now it focuses its energy on describing the characteristics just of that selected text. So in this paragraph, I have 55 words with 312 total characters, including spaces. Love it, right? This is a great way to get you through your book project. Or if you've just started writing for the day and you want to meet a word count goal, let's say today's writing session, I need to hit 25,000 words on my project. I can keep an eye down here in the lower left-hand corner and just encourage myself to hit that mark. All righty. My next favorite, and I know that many of you have been waiting for this moment because you can't stand all the squiggles that are appearing on my screen. I'm going to go take out the bulleted text up here by highlighting it and then pressing delete for the moment. Delete, 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 so that we're all back happy here on the screen. But when it's making you crazy that why are there squiggles on the screen? We'll see some blue squiggles and we see some red squiggles right here up at the beginning of my chapter 1. Blue typically means there's something going on with the grammar, and red is for spelling. You may see green squiggles if you have an older version of Microsoft Word. I always say green for grammar, but now a lot of them are blue. How do you engage spell check? For many writers, this is just as good a service or better than sliced bread. Chances are good that you may have a few of these squiggles already in your document. It doesn't necessarily mean you spelled something wrong, like if you're quoting a Russian theorist on something and there's too many Y's in a row, it will probably light up with red squiggles. It's just simply Word's version of suggesting that there may be another way to spell this. One of the easy ways to see what it would suggest instead is to move your cursor on top of that word and right-click. It will offer up some possibilities at the top of that right-click menu. Elegant tuxedoed arms should have an E there at the end of it. You can simply choose that from your right-click menu and it will automatically update it in your document. This is a fantastic little feature if you can't get through the day without fixing this right now, but you don't want to have to go back and spell check the whole document. That's a nice quick way you can do it. Another, when you're ready to run through the whole document, there are a couple of places that you can find spell check. Some people like to use the quick access toolbar version. So in the very little mini, super duper mini toolbar at the top of your screen, it's the ABC with the check mark that stands for spell check. And if you don't see the ABC check mark in your quick access toolbar, you can add it. Click on the More button and then turn on spelling and grammar by checking next to it. And now you'll see this little tool on here. You can also run spell check from the Review tab of your toolbar by clicking the larger button that says Spelling and Grammar. Or if you're like me and you love keyboard shortcuts, pay attention here because you'll notice as soon as I move over that tool, a box popped up underneath of it that tells me what the tool does. And then in parentheses, if there's a keyboard shortcut for this tool that you want to use, it will also show you what that is. So it will tell you that if you press the F7 key, this is one of those function keys at the top of your keyboard, that will also launch spelling and grammar check for yourself. So I'm going to hit spell check now, and we'll watch what happens. We start, actually, you know what? I'm going to start it from the very beginning by placing my cursor at the super duper top. It won't matter, but I don't want you to be frustrated at why it's not grabbing that first sentence. All right, so the first thing it's suggesting is that I have a grammar quandary. It's saying I have used a contraction. Woe is me. Now, if I'm writing in dialogue, contractions are exactly the way to go because people speak in contractions. Let me qualify that. Native English speakers speak in contractions. So if you're having dialogue in your book between two characters or from one character who is a native English speaker, and you're writing things like I am, I was, we were, chances are very good your dialogue will ring more true if you abbreviate that to I'm, we're doing things. You, instead of you are, you're on your way to do this. So I'm going to ignore changing that to that is. It now moves ahead to suggesting that that's me at Christmas time, saying it should be that's I at Christmas time. And that's just righteous wrong. One of my messages to you is that you can't trust everything Microsoft Word tells you. I'm sorry. I wish that the computer were perfect. It's not. This is one of the great reasons to employ a friend or a teacher friend to help you puzzle through all the grammar things. If grammar is not your strong suit, you do not want to make all of your choices based on Microsoft Word's recommendations. I'm going to choose ignore, but I'm also going to say, just pop a question in one of our comments area. If you're thinking Microsoft Word might be off the game on a suggestion that it makes to you in spell check or grammar check, pop a question to us. All right, now, as soon as I chose ignore, it moved me down to the next opportunity for me to correct an error. Maestro Conti knew he could make Stephanie lose control, but I've written loose control, and indeed, this time they are right. I need to change loose to lose, so instead of clicking ignore, I'm going to click change. It makes that change in my document and then moves me down to the next error error in my list or potential error in my list. And it's saying, oh, I need a D in the word acknowledging. I have a few choices now. I can ignore it. Maybe I think I've spelled this perfectly right. I can ignore it every time in my document. And now this is good. If you have an unusual character name or you're writing science fiction or fantasy and you've created some worlds, you can ignore all the instances where this word comes up and it's actually right. Or you can be really cool and you can add it to Microsoft Word's dictionary using the add button here. And that way it will automatically recognize that spelling of that word as being correct. Or if you know that I frequently leave the D out of acknowledging, I can choose to change it in every instance in which it appears in my document. My personal word problem is fluorescent. I can't remember U or O. So if that one pops up, I'll just go ahead and change it all the time. Not that I should be using the word fluorescent more than once in a book, but it's a possibility. Make sense? All right, so that's spell check in a nutshell. And then the final one of the tools that I want to introduce to you today for your writing and revision process is the Thesaurus. It's also located on the Review tab nearby to Spell Check and Grammar, and you can get to it from the button on the Review tab, or you'll notice the keyboard shortcut for that is pressing and holding down the Shift key while you type the F7 key. And I love this when I'm trying to find a word that I've used too many times. Let me see. What might I want? Let me turn this off for a second. All right, so let's say that I found myself using a word too many times, yet when her unyielding brown-eyed gaze met his. What if I'd used gaze once already and I wanted to find another word for gaze? I can highlight the word in question, click on Thesaurus, and it will open up on this right-hand side for me and show me other words that I could use that mean basically the same thing. So I could change, yet when her unyielding brown-eyed gaze, I could change that to stare or look or scrutiny. Ooh, I like scrutiny. Notice when I highlight or move my cursor up and down the list that a little arrow appears. If I would like to change this, I can click on that arrow and choose Insert. Watch what happens to gaze in my document. As soon as I click Insert, it took gaze out and replaced it with scrutiny. Yet when her unyielding brown-eyed scrutiny met his, he wondered fleetingly if he was man enough for the task. Now, when I read that now, I go, all right, I'm probably overshooting. Maybe gaze was better. Remember, you can do the undo feature to put something back if you ever make a decision and it just doesn't work for you. But bear in mind that undo only undoes things in the order in which they were done. So if you did something 4 or 5 steps ago and you need to undo it, you'll also be undoing some of the other things that you may want to keep in the meantime. So just be cautious using that. And remember to keep saving your updated document as you're happy with it. Save a new version of that. All right, so that's the Thesaurus feature. And today I'll be back for one more Microsoft Word video in this series in Module 5 that has some bonus content for you uber tech geeks, you overachievers out there. There's also a stunning element for those of you who are writing books for the children's market in which you need some insight into determining the reading level of your work as a whole. So I'll see you soon.